You're tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
What is up, fellow face-off fans? Also, hopefully fans of alliteration. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 1 of AfterBuzz's Face-Off wrap-up for Return of the Champions. I'm your host, Alana Jordan, and I am joined by my amazing co-hosts.
Hey, I'm Aaron.
I'm Emma.
And I'm Alexis.
That was very Mickey Mouse. I liked it. By the way, this is Emma's first AfterBuzz show.
Yay! Thanks, guys. I'm really excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you. We're friends in real life, too.
We are.
So, I'm really excited about this season. One, because I get to hang out with you guys, but also because they've totally switched it up. It seems like every season they're like, and this is unlike any other. But this time it actually works.
I was gonna say. No, it's so true. They do literally say that every single season. They're like, for a first in face-off history. And you're like, but it's not a first in face-off history. Literally the exact same thing happened at the beginning of the last season. You just think people have forgotten because it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
but
like, we don't forget.
Yeah, like for the first time in Alien in Water. We've seen this 20 times.
Yeah. But it's always different and it's always good.
No, no,
There
absolutely.
But this time they really did switch it up. We have some returning champions, hence the title, because they're doing it very voice-esque style, and they have teams this year, which is pretty interesting, I think. I think the coolest thing, because we have, of course, Laura, Anthony, and Race all returning.
Yeah, Laura.
Season 5, Season 4, and Season 2 winners. But the cool thing is that if one of their contestants on their team wins, they win too. So they get to be a double face-off champion.
Which is just perfect, I think.
It's amazing, but it's also kind of terrifying for them, because if all of the members of their team get eliminated, they get sent packing too. And we bring in, I guess, a new judge, or a new coach, is what I'm assuming, from a fellow winner to replace them. Or maybe not. Maybe they just keep the same amount. I think it'd be cool if they switched up the teams and brought...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Apart the teams.
Okay, I understand what
all
you're
of
saying.
yours have been eliminated. Now none of you are safe.
I gotcha. Oh, okay. So it's like you think maybe like as soon as one judge loses every person on their team, like they don't go away, they get a new job.
They go away, but they bring in a new coach, like a previous winner, a different one, and rip up the existing winners' teams. I think that would be
and
cool.
like redistribute them.
Yeah.
I mean that would definitely throw a wrench in the system.
I may be overthinking it though.
No, but I think it's a great plan, especially if you like separate them by pairs.
Yeah.
It'll be crazy.
Yeah.
It'll just bring the stakes higher, and I think it's awesome.
It sounds like it would be a Mackenzie idea with her twist.
She would also have a wardrobe change.
Yeah. She has to have at least 8 of them.
We were talking about, every time I watch this show, the majority of conversation, I think, is just about how Mackenzie is so pretty, and she always changes, and she's in a different amazing outfit.
I counted. She at least did 4 different dresses.
Yeah, and she's always
standing
standing on top of like a different monument or landmark or like naval battleship.
Yeah, she was on.
It's
every time. Last year, I was just like, why? Why a ship?
Why can I not be born a Westmore? That's all. I just
know.
What? Because you just want to be on
amazing.
like random landmarks.
I just want to be intrinsically awesome.
And wear lots of sparkly dresses.
And wear all the sparkly dresses.
I could just film all of you guys on monuments.
Perfect. Done. Okay, great.
Best openings ever.
Yeah, that'll be the new intro for this podcast.
Yeah.
Next week. Stay tuned.
We're relocating.
I'm excited too because V. Neal is back.
Yay!
I missed her.
Back is awesome.
I love
She was
her.
off on working on Hunger Games.
I know.
Which also brings me to how talented
Laura worked on Hunger Games with her on Mockingjay,
which is insane. These contestants are going on to do huge things.
Yeah,
and I think bringing back the winners and showing their success, I think, is even more inspiration for the people who are competing currently.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because I mean, it just shows that like winning Face Off means something. You know what I mean? Like Laura was a Face Off contestant, and then she worked on Mockingjay.
I think
that's a gigantic deal.
Yeah, it's like the one competition show that I love because they actually get to see them do. I mean, American Idol's one thing, but I mean,
for sure.
You know, that most American Idol winners, they just kind of disappear.
Well, they become like, excuse the term, but like every other dime a dozen pop star. You know, like they have one hit song right after their success in American Idol, and then they just kind of fizzle out. Whereas with makeup, it's not necessarily advertised as well because it is largely a behind the scenes kind of job, but I always feel confident that like all the people on Face Off that make it as far as the finals, they're going to continue to work in makeup. In fact, even coming into this season, some of these contestants already have a really impressive background of work.
There's an insane level of talent this season. Yeah. And it is so far reaching from now we have one contestant who's 18.
I know.
That's exactly. Really spanning the ages from 18 to 41.
Yeah.
Like, this, I think, is a really...
I think it's going to be a great...
Yeah, and there are people who have, worked for 8 months.
Yeah.
And then people who have worked for 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have people like Adam, who was... a creative consultant on major attractions at Universal in Orlando and also in Osaka, Japan. I mean, he was a creative consultant on this crazy Resident Evil attraction that they have, which is basically like a haunted maze house situation meets like Astro Blasters at Disneyland. Where like you go through and zombies jump out at you, but you can also shoot them.
Why do we not have that out here?
No,
I know. I want that. Why are we not funding this?
I have always wanted a Resident Evil attraction since I started liking Resident Evil when I was like 10.
Call Adam. Let's just
perfect. Let's get him on the phone and be like, Adam, listen, we got to get this installed at Universal Studios Hollywood. We got like an opening where Stage 28 used to be. It'll be perfect.
I love you have it planned to the specifics.
I do, yeah.
Too.
You've thought this through.
Yeah, I really have.
I just think it's awesome. Like you said, that it's all about quality. So that's why you have some people with talented, versus American Idol. It's just kind of scouting out people and just kind of putting them on for TV for ratings sake. But you're not going to watch a makeup show with people trying to discover their talent on the TV.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. No, so these are well-established talents.
And you can just tell that they're growing after every episode.
Absolutely.
And I love that. Yeah. I think it's great.
I love, too, that they have, because the coaches are returning champions themselves, the contestants already kind of have favorites.
Yeah,
for their coaches. Like Gregory is super into Laura and just like wants to be on her team.
And he got his wish.
He did. I was so glad. That would have been really sad if the whole time he's like, I want to be on Laura's team. I want to be on Laura's team. They're like, fail.
I know. Laura's like, I don't want you.
You're the worst.
No, I don't like you.
I do have to say though, his makeup looked very incredible.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, because he was so gung ho about being Team Laura, and so he very specifically did that Father Time makeup to go with her previous winning makeup design of Mother Earth. And the idea was really good. Like when he first started working on it, it looked like he knew what he was doing and it was really going to come together. And so I was expecting this cool grandfather clock. It looked like a mossy face with some foam on its head.
Was there even any like a face of like
No, right? I totally lost the clock thing. Yeah. It looked like a big old mess.
Just a big box.
Yeah.
Like it looked like a cereal box with no
like little
title.
lines of moss on it. It looked so weird.
Yeah. I feel like he should have, and they didn't really address that. I feel like they didn't say like, oh, this looks like garbage.
No.
But they did. I mean, the concept was there. It's just he didn't execute it very well, and I didn't like that.
Yeah. And I feel like he's very talented. And
I know. I think he's extremely talented.
I'm waiting. Out of time. I'm waiting for the next one. I just felt like we didn't get to see his true talent there.
I think also that a lot of the makeup artists, like this is the first time that they have had to work under these kind of time constraints.
Yeah, that's true.
This was the foundation challenge that they all had to do makeups in to basically be companion characters to characters that the 3 returning champions had previously created on the seasons of Face Off that they were on. So for the foundation challenge, they were making these companion creatures, and they only have so much time to do it, to come up with a concept and then execute it, and they are working with just out-of-the-box pieces. They are not able to sculpt pieces specifically for the faces of their models.
And it's not like the main challenge where they also get feedback.
Yeah, they don't get feedback as they go along. With the foundation challenge, you just go in there and you got to do it.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like the amount of stress, I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, totally.
I would break every time.
Yeah.
I would just cry. I mean, but like you can see that where it affects some of the contestants. Like Sasha last year, she was just like breaking every single time that
Yeah, that's
I
true.
know.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's totally
it's
true.
Really, it's just it takes them out of their comfort zone. Really, to do all these time constraints.
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised too that Jamie was picked last.
I know.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah. I think it's just
That's
because
rough too. Just having the kind of
know.
like
Yeah.
middle school gym class mentality.
exactly what I thought. It was like
Who's
totally
gonna get picked?
Yeah.
Like,
Don't
come
do that.
on.
It was totally like getting picked last for kickball or softball, which
Yeah,
was
it was-
I was always picked last for.
Yeah, and then everybody being like, "We want Anthony, we want Anthony," and then it's like, "Jamie, wah, wah."
Oh, you make it
They're
worse
like,
by doing that.
We'll still have fun. I'm like, that's the worst thing to say. Don't
terrible.
say we'll still have fun.
Fun.
Like, you're also talented,
Yeah.
which is why you're
here on the show. Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Well, I'm just really excited about all the twists this season, and I'm also really excited that our listeners are joining us again this season. You can, of course, catch us on iTunes. Please give us all of your feedback, YouTube and on iTunes. We love hearing from you guys, so let us know what you're thinking about this season as well. And I was also super excited because for the big challenge, they always have amazing people that they bring in. They outdid themselves with this episode, guys.
I know.
Fangirl.
Aaron's laughing while we all fangirl.
Yeah, we were all sitting there
We see the
squealing.
silver
I'm like,
ponytail and we're like, freak out.
That's literally what the viewing room was.
Yeah, it's insane. But Rick Baker, of course,
my
the first
goodness.
person who
Every time.
ever won an Academy Award for makeup design.
I mean, they basically invented the
Yeah.
Academy Award for achievement in
Rick
makeup
Baker.
design
Yes.
for him.
And then he
Yeah.
won it 6 more times.
I know.
So very much they need to start bringing some accomplished people on. I think that's the,
Yeah,
the
that's what
only
it is.
thing.
Oh yeah.
I was cracking up too when Kelly started fangirling out because I was like, yes, appropriate reaction.
Yeah.
Set down your pen and just geek out for a minute.
Well, wasn't it
because-
Kelly that she was working on her sketch for the
Oh, my gosh.
the
Favorite
Spotlight
moment.
Challenge, and she's just sitting there and she's sketching and she's like sitting on this piece of debris, and then Rick Baker just like comes and
just,
like
like, sits like,
stands
"Hey."
right there next to her, looking over her shoulder at her drawing.
I would freak out.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
would be crying and I would just, no words would come out of my mouth. I'd just like,
Yeah. For anyone who's listening or watching who's unfamiliar with Rick Baker, I think we summarized it pretty well. He was the very first makeup artist to ever win an Academy Award for achievement in makeup
American
design.
Werewolf.
That was for An American Werewolf in London. 1981.
1981.
Yeah. Yes, and he's since gone on to win multiple Academy Awards. He's worked on things like Men in Black, which was actually something that he brought up in this episode because the Spotlight Challenge was, of course, working on aliens.
Yes, which Darla doesn't even have to worry about because she won the the
immunity.
and got immunity.
Yeah.
So
Which I thought that she absolutely deserved to win the Foundation Challenge. And part of the reason is not only was her makeup really well thought out, which I have to admit, when she initially was like, I'm going to design a dead ballerina, my reaction was, why? But then when she explained it, that it was like the reincarnated dead ballerina that dances to the music of the cello hybrid Tim Burton-y character that Race had created, then I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
it fit really well. It looked like they would be part of the same movie, and it looked like that movie would be directed by Tim Burton. So.
Absolutely.
I completely agree.
Absolutely.
I was on the same boat with her where I was worried about her prosthetics
Yes.
because it wasn't blended very well
Yeah,
on top, and I
no.
was like, that's gonna look really weird. Is she gonna put her hair down,
Yeah.
her bangs, and then she found that ginormous flower.
I know.
and I was like, she's gonna put that on her head.
I know.
She looks gorgeous.
I mean, that looked right out of like the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland.
And she got
like,
the color
yeah.
palette perfectly. It just blended so well, didn't
Yeah.
it? And it stood out perfectly. It was just well thought out. I loved
But
it.
I love that V pointed out that one and Rob's, which
Oh,
was
I
super
know.
textured and was so different.
Very, very different.
Because I feel like that really kind of applauds the eclectic, as long as you pick an idea, as long as you have a solid backstory and you make the character fit.
Yeah.
And
it'll work. Yeah.
And what I thought was really impressive about what Darla did, this is going back to you talking about how like her makeup wasn't blended very well at the top of the head. She knew that, and she's like, what am I going to do to make this work? And that is a big thing particularly with Face Off, where you are under those time constraints, where when stuff goes wrong, you don't get to have a whole nother day to fix it and redo it. You just got to make it work.
That's why I really wish that Gregory would have just pulled that whole piece off.
I agree. I know.
Put like a shawl over
it. It was just not working.
Something.
Well, and then somebody else was creating a Father Time makeup as well.
To be honest, I didn't like any of the Father Times. I didn't like that he just put moss as a beard. I mean, it was creative, and I acknowledge him for that, but I didn't like it. It was just like, I'm just going to put moss around here.
Yeah. But he did multiple pieces. I'll say there were a whole bunch of layers.
I liked everything about his prosthetics. I just didn't like that he made a moss beard.
But I also feel like a lot of that was on the model, who just really incorporated the physicality of the character.
I think he was the only one.
Yeah. Which, a lot of times you have that where you have to really make sure that you work with your model, because otherwise it's not going to come across.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, makeup can only do so much. Your model has to bring it to life.
Yeah, which I feel like this was the perfect kickoff for the season to show these different levels of the, because sometimes you see the progression of the models too, of them just standing there to them actually
participating and taking on the character.
And I like when the models ask, like in this one, do you have a backstory?
Yeah, one of the models did that this time, and I was like, oh, good for you.
Yeah. Which I love, because I feel like you need to have a really good,
I think it was the Father Time one.
Yeah, you have to have a fleshed out backstory, or it's just not gonna...
That's how you know you have a good model, is that they're actually trying to be like, okay, this is the character you want, I'm going to envelop it and be good at it. So I don't know, I thought that model was fantastic.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot. His personality was shown through the makeup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which I believe, was that for Anthony?
Anthony was the other one that did the Father Time one, and he didn't do a clock head. He just had like a mossy face.
Yeah, he incorporated it.
That's what it was.
I thought did great on the first challenge. That's why I was so surprised when I feel Michael Westmore kind of ripped him a new one.
Oh, I know.
But he didn't have to sculpt anything.
It's true.
So everything was already done for him. You just had to, glue it on and make sure it looked good. But
I will say, I was really laughing at the way that they had that set up too, because they come back from the break and Michael Westmore's still tearing
I know.
Yeah. No.
He was like giving
more things. Just like, have you ever sculpted
my hair
before?
Was standing
you have
on my arm. I was like, no, get rid of it. Scrap
amateurish
Burn
was
it.
the exact. And then they're like, maybe we should start over. I'm like, you think?
Yeah,
really?
exactly.
Michael Westmore basically just said, so have you ever done makeup before?
That's pretty much what it was.
And Anthony's reaction was, yeah. And Michael Westmore's like, really?
Yeah. And then Race is, well, I think that's a good idea to start over.
Yeah.
It is a really good idea.
Whereas Race was probably actually thinking, oh no, why did I pick this person? They don't know what's
No, you could see it because like the camera went to his face and you could see him like...
Which is so funny too, because they were fighting over Anthony.
They were all fighting over Anthony,
And he just...
But I feel like this show is great about showing feedback that you're like, oh, I bet this person is going to mess up. And they're like, actually, I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, which is why I'm confident that Jamie is actually going to be excellent, because she was picked last.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like we really saw her makeup.
We didn't.
We didn't really get much of her at all in this episode.
Well, it's so difficult the first couple episodes because there's 15 contestants. There's only so much time. And then, of course, Mackenzie has to throw in 15 twins.
Right, and 8 costume changes.
Yeah, it's too much.
Jumbotron.
Yeah, I was gonna say, her face on the Jumbotron at the beginning of the episode.
I was just like, Wizard of Oz much? Like, what are we doing?
That would have been
no attention to the perfectly dressed, coiffed woman behind the curtain. And by that, I mean, watch all the spotlights follow her as she walks downstairs.
I know. Look at me.
I feel like if I was ever on the show, my goal would just be to create something as pretty as Mackenzie.
Yes.
Which I don't think...
They should have a challenge.
A Mackenzie
to make Mackenzie makeup challenge. I think it'd be so great. It looks fantastic.
They wouldn't be able to do it. They'd break under pressure.
Yes, I agree with you, but I want them to try.
I don't know if there's even any way to improve on Mackenzie.
You can't.
No.
No, there's no such thing.
Yeah. That's what you get when your dad is a world famous makeup artist.
There you go. There you go.
I was actually surprised that Mackenzie wasn't there when her dad was there.
Yeah,
She's always
she does
there.
usually walk through with her dad.
And she was probably trying to find a new mountaintop.
She's usually always there for like moral support. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Instead, like this time, Michael was just like, rah.
But I love it because like she'll give you the typical Mackenzie look, and she'll be like, yeah, okay, all right, we'll see you.
We'll see you in there.
Yeah,
but the thing is, she adds. Because I feel like Michael is very honest, which is good, and they need to hear that.
No, I agree.
But I feel like if Mackenzie was there, she would kind of be like, well, also, remember why you're here.
Yeah.
You're very talented, because I have no idea how Anthony didn't just start crying. I
was waiting for him to be like, I need a minute.
Well, I'm waiting for him to get to this point where he's like, eventually like, you know what, I'm not going to listen to you. Because, like, eventually later on in the season, they just stop listening to him.
Who was it? Even in this episode, Kelly, like, Mr. Westmore came in and was like, oh, you should do this thing where like, your sculpture recedes into the mouth more. And she's like, uh-huh.
Add more mouth, basically.
No, please tell me what you said, because that was like the perfect comment that you said.
It was just her voice was which was I don't want to do that.
I just started cracking up. I was like, that's exactly what her face did.
We have a very short amount of time, and you're still talking.
No, like her lip went straight lines. That's exactly what it did, and I was like, oh, yikes.
I did like though that she. Which they all could have been doing this, but I know she made a point to look next to her and see what Darla was doing.
I did really like that cross-referencing that was going on. Yeah.
And
so, go ahead.
I'll go.
I feel like they work really well together. Like Jen and I do, both going.
Okay, you want to go? No, but I just wanted to sort of clarify as to where we are right now. So basically, their spotlight challenge this week is. They were all brought out to the Vasquez rocks, which my iPad autocorrected to values rocks. I mean, there's some great values. Yeah, exactly. Like nature and beauty and the expanse of the universe.
And the fact that they have made almost every movie that I love
this
out
is
there.
Pretty much this is true. This is true. Absolutely true. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so they go out there and they have all these different alien crash sites. So basically each team picked a crash site and are creating 2 aliens that could have arrived with this shuttle crash. So the ones that Kelly and Stephanie were working on.
They did kind of the egg crash site.
Yeah, that's right.
They had these aquatic aliens that crash landed in the desert by mistake, which I thought was a really interesting
I would have never thought of
I thought that was a really interesting twist too, especially because initially I was a little jarred by the water thing because I looked at those eggs and immediately thought Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
I just thought like bug aliens.
Yeah, and that's always the risk, though, is that if there's something that's kind of inspired by and you go towards that, you don't want to be a cheap imitation of something that already exists.
Totally, absolutely.
So I like that they went kind of the opposite direction and then added in that own kind of the challenge of saying they're out of their environment. How are we going to incorporate into this makeup that they're out of the environment?
Yeah.
Which... How many? They had a whole bunch of crash sites. It was
they had,
like
I think,
6. Yeah, they picked 3 of them.
Yeah, either 6 or 4 of them. I can't quite remember. There was a lot.
There were. They definitely had some options.
And it was mainly focused on Rick Baker the whole time.
I know that's the problem. Is they were just
like, have a whole episode of Face Off with just Rick Baker, I'd watch it.
I would be fine.
Yeah.
I would not complain about that at all.
No.
I'm trying to remember which group was the one that had the pod that was broken.
Oh,
that was Anthony.
Laura,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
No, it was Anthony.
Laura's got
Anthony
the
had the one that was blown up that had the missiles and the guns, and they were going to create the warrior and the little baby warrior, and then like the baby alien that the warrior protects.
But they changed it to be like his lady companion.
Yeah, which I thought was weird. But I mean, in my brain, I mean, this is not me. This
but then
is
it's like a baby
nitpicky.
lady.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, in my opinion, when I saw all the debris and things like that, I was thinking, why can't this alien kind of have like incorporated of the crash site?
Oh, yeah.
Just to make it different. I mean, I know that I liked their concept of having like a team.
No, I do too.
But I think it would have been cooler to see like that it melted into their body and they had to use it to accommodate to the new planet.
Yeah. Well, they could have incorporated at least some cuts or something so that you see that their blood is like an
I agree because it does look like such a violent crash. Unlike the crash site for Race's team, I don't even really understand what's going on there, to be completely honest.
Was that a pod?
It was a pod. It was an escape pod with some crystals and a mutilated deer, which I think was
I agree with you.
Was that a prop, or was that just actually a dead deer that nobody had cleaned up?
Yeah, I feel like they were like, oh, let's incorporate this deer. It's fine.
I was just like, no.
It wasn't eaten by a coyote out here in the terrifying desert that we put you in.
I hope it wasn't eaten by a coyote. That was a very cut up deer. It was
I mean, this is California. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Like, they think coyotes look like mountain lions out here. So, I mean, you never know. But I felt the same way, that I was like, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though, too, because when they were talking about the designs, they were like king scorpion and then grasshopper.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa,
spider, scorpion, grasshopper. That sounds like the creature of my nightmares.
Yet, I don't think the creature that they were making looks like any of those.
They're not.
Are they going to at least put crystals on them?
That's my thing, is like, literally their space pod looks sort of like a Snow White coffin.
Yes.
With some crystals.
And then they add in like old age, wise, and I'm like, what?
What?
Where did that even
Where
come
did you guys
from?
get that from?
Also, they look very young, crystally, Superman-esque.
That's what I was thinking. Like, make a Superman,
like a Superman, or like the good things that the Skeksis and the Mystics fuse into in the end of Dark Crystal. I think I was just getting that from the crystal thing.
Team Race did have that higher intelligence being, correct? Where it was like the...
Yes.
Yeah. So then that's... Yeah.
I guess so, yeah.
I just don't understand why they had to take 3 different types of animals or insects and just squish them together. Yeah. I feel like that's too much.
And then there was a random higher intelligence one.
And why that would come from the planet that pod came from. It just doesn't fit.
I know that we were doing pairs and things like that, but it's only one pod. How can 2 little creatures fit into one? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm being nitpicky.
The whole concept to me for them seemed very muddy, and so then it just like almost added insult to injury when Anthony was sculpting that face, and then Mr. Westmore comes in and was like,
well, he even admitted anytime that you sculpt something that's made to look mechanical, it's going to pose challenges because it's hard to reflect that element.
But I didn't get anything mechanical from that crash site. It was all like crystals and a dead deer.
Yeah, it seemed very organic for them to be adding in this mechanical element.
Yeah, I feel like they should have had a female alien that was just very beautiful. I feel like it's a very beautiful case.
Totally.
And then maybe something else that would have incorporated more crystals. I feel like
I feel like
so gorgeous.
Kelly's first challenge,
foundation
with the
challenge.
Purple,
would have been perfect.
I think that looked a lot more like it would come from that crash site than anything that they were designing, which was surprising to me.
I totally agree.
I feel like that group's going to be in trouble. Yeah. That's I mean, not to get into predictions, but I feel like that's where that is. Yeah. I think they have too much.
I'm not exactly sure how all of them are going to play out, because there seems to be like a lot of different ideas going on at once that it's kind of muddling all their one creative. It's like not really.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a cohesive team.
Yeah, it's not reined in. And I think the reason why they've been going so aggressive is they think crash sites, they think mean, and then they think army.
And it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, there's nothing really violent about their crash site aside from that random dead deer that I'm still not entirely sure was actually part of the set.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, it just seems to me like the coaches are acting more like the director of a movie. Saying, this is a cohesive idea. This is what we need. More real life experience, which is why I like this season so much.
Absolutely.
But I feel like Race isn't seeing it that way. Like, he's seeing it more from a makeup artist perspective, less from a directorial.
He's still looking at it as a designer, not as a director.
And I just feel like since he's such an easygoing guy, I don't feel like he's taking the leader role. He's kind of like, you guys can just do whatever you want. I think that works. And I'm just like, no. No, tell him, like, that's not a good idea.
It's totally true, because if you really think about it, Anthony, if Race had been thinking more from a directorial standpoint, or even just having a little bit more of a hand in what his team was doing, it shouldn't have gotten to the point of Michael Westmore coming in and being like, no, that makeup is, no. Have you ever sculpted before? Because I'm not sure.
That's just a rough situation to be in. I just feel like somebody should have stepped in at some point. And I feel like because it's the first episode, they don't want to step on any toes, and they don't have a bad guy, and he still wants to be a likable coach, but
he's got to find a happy medium.
He's got to toughen up.
Which I feel is going to be somewhat challenging for this one, just because it is the first.
But the group that's doing well, though? Anthony's getting their, like,
I know.
Their stuff.
Their group is doing really well.
Yeah, they already finished sculpting, and they're pretty much ready to go.
They are on it.
Yeah, which I was surprised, to be honest.
Right, whereas Race's team admitted that they have nothing poured yet. They have not poured any of their molds.
And they haven't really finished like fabricating like the suit and everything.
Ben's just trucking. It's like,
I know,
Like, that's a lot of things that you just listed that you have to do. And he's
seriously.
like, and done.
Yeah, it was great. I love it.
But then again, with Face Off, like, even if they've had, like, a well-established, you know, they have everything created, it ends up, like, sometimes it ends up being, oh, that's too simple. And then the judges end up hating it. And then
that is true. That is very true.
So it's like...
Though Rick Baker did say when he was talking about this alien challenge, which I thought was really hilarious, by the way, he said that he would rather see something that's clean and clearly alien, like Glenn Hedrick.
Yes.
Well,
I liked that little burn.
I like to, just because you can do anything doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I feel like that should just be printed and hung in the lab.
I know.
And just leave it up there every season, because I feel that happens too often. We can do anything. And it's like, well, but should you?
Yeah. Well, because I think that, you know, they were talking, I think it was Julian was talking on this episode about how they get into this lab and they suddenly have all of these tools at their disposal that most of them never really get a chance to work with because they are expensive.
Yes.
He was the one that was like, I do this at my parents'
In my parents' garage.
Like a partial, it's like a partial garage.
He's like, garage. Okay, partial one. Okay, it's not even a garage.
It's just, I'm outside.
Okay, it's my room.
No, and it's just great because I want to live in there. I would just live in there and just make little creatures.
When you saw it, you were like, I just want to live in there.
Yeah, that's the first thing. I was just like, I can use all those wigs. I can use all that paint. Oh,
I know those wigs, man.
And then for the fans that watch every season, Elena pointed out a good thing, how they always make that slamming door sound, even though
the door never closes or opens.
Yeah, every time they go to commercial break, they're like, closed door noise. And I'm like, that door is... It's on the ground.
Yeah,
it's never
actually still closed.
It's never been lifted. It's just there.
They go in through a normal, like, swinging in and out door.
Yeah.
It was weird. It's like a place of, like, I saw it and I was like, oh, this is comfort. But then it's also stressful because you see it every, you know.
It's so true. It's so true. And I mean, they have such a great setup there, and they've got space and they have all these tools at their disposal. But at the same time, that is where all of the stress is going down.
I agree.
I'm excited to see once all these people start dwindling down, you know, to see them kind of interactive. Because we didn't see any of their personalities really.
I totally
they were just
agree.
Focused and
well, when they first move
at.
into the house, too, they don't really have time to talk to each other. It's mostly, look at this house. Isn't this house amazing?
Awesome.
And then, Emma's been in the house.
I have been to that house before.
I'm super jealous.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been swimming in that pool. They have a tomato garden in the backyard. I took a bunch of tomatoes from it one time.
You heard it here first, guys.
The upstairs of that house is a little bit confusing. So, you know, there's obviously so many bedrooms in that house because you have to house 15 contestants, and they do sort of like bunk the beds and stuff. But the first time I went upstairs in that house, I was like, I don't know where I am. So like I opened another door and I was in another hallway, and it's a really cool house. It feels like there should be like secret passageways.
So
or
what
something.
you're saying is that we're all going to take a field trip, right?
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Panel, AFTERBUZZ field trip.
Absolutely. AFTERBUZZ field trip.
Yes. And then we have an AFTERBUZZ after field trip where we just hang out with Rick Baker.
Done. Oh my God. That is
I could die happy.
Like at a bowling alley.
That is a dream.
Yes. Bowling alley.
Can you imagine Rick Baker just being like,
amazing.
Strike, and then just levitate off?
I just imagine that he is brilliant at everything he does. Yeah. So I feel like if we did go bowling with Rick Baker, he would destroy all of us.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'd be in the corner crying. I wouldn't even be able to be like, it's your turn.
Pinching myself the whole time.
This is happening.
I know. Yeah, I saw Rick Baker interviewed one time at the Hero Complex Film Festival, which is put on by the LA Times. Hero Complex is a branch of the LA Times, and I just was overwhelmed by his presence. Like, just to hear him talk to somebody else, I was like, oh, he's so amazing. And he doesn't have an agent or anything. He's just, his body of work speaks for itself.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's really, he's incredible. I was so happy he was
We
on
could
the
just
show
talk
this
about
week.
Rick Baker.
I know.
I'm so
whole
excited
episode.
about every time that Face Off, every season, it seems like they just add more and more amazing either guest judges or people to inspire the contestants.
Totally.
I love it. I love the energy of this show is so different from most competition shows where it is very structured on the competition.
I agree completely. And I also find that Face Off is an incredibly supportive competition show.
That's so
because
true.
everyone is kind of in it for each other as well. They're all celebrating each other's success that they've gotten up to this point.
They don't ever have segments of Face Off where they focus on the contestants talking badly about each other.
You rarely get any drama.
It's not drama between the contestants. It's drama over their mold didn't work out the way they wanted it to, or they're having trouble applying the silicone pieces or whatever material they've made it out of that they've created, or that their model comes in and they're allergic to the kind of glue that they want to use.
Those are the episodes that I'm just like, oh my God, someone's gonna have to be taken out by an ambulance. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think that you really feel for all of the contestants on this show. Like, you don't go, there's nobody you're rooting against.
No, not really.
Which I don't think I could say the same about any other competition show.
Literally any other competition show, because they're always structured to have at least that one stereotype of the kind of mean person or the one who's out to get the other ones, and you never really have that on
I mean, you might get the like occasional like cocky person, but that is gone within the third episode. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'm screwed.
Well,
like,
I feel like a lot of it also comes from talking about how Laura got to work with V. Neil on Hunger Games.
Exactly.
These makeup artists work together, and you want to have a good foundation with other people. You don't want to have the reputation of being the person who's out to get somebody else.
Yeah, because you never know even if you don't win Face Off, you might eventually have to work with another contestant sometime in the field, and you're like, well, I don't want to be, a dick to you, so let's be nice.
Well, because makeup artistry is a collaborative art form.
Which is why I like the fact that this season we're actually doing collaborative projects instead of working against each other.
Well, that was something that I absolutely loved about last season's finale.
Exactly.
When they had the teams of 3 working on the 2 creations for the ultimate battle of life and death.
That was so great.
It was amazing.
That was like a 5-minute battle, though.
It was so quick, but it was just great.
At some point, I forgot what I was watching, though. Is this a sci-fi movie?
Well, what are we watching?
Are we watching a lot on this show, though, where they have a lot of hype for what's coming up, and they're like, dramatic music, montage. Look at their faces while they're very upset. You don't know what they're upset about, and they're like, oh, I fixed it.
Yeah. It was like, we're dead.
And because there is so much dramatic buildup, it's really weird. If any of you guys get the chance to do this, watch this show without commercials, like without even having to fast forward through commercials.
Crazy.
Yeah, because there's so much repeating of who's the winner of this challenge. All right, who's the winner of this challenge?
Or there's like, the mold's broken. The mold's broken. Okay, it's fixed. Okay, let's move on. And then it's just like that.
When we come back, what will happen with the mold? And they're like, it's gonna be fixed.
It's gonna be
fixed.
fixed.
It every time.
They're always stressed out with like air bubbles, and then it always resolves itself.
I know. I'm always sitting there going, oh no, their makeup's gonna go. No, they're fine.
It's weird extremes. It's either like everything goes horribly wrong or everything is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just random.
And usually if it is perfect, we don't talk about it until the last of the judging and the elimination night. That's it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, I think this season, though, they are going to try to add in these extra elements.
Oh, yeah, like the last part of this episode?
More of, I don't want to say twist, but there's going to be more twists. Yeah, because this time they did add in the element where, for the first time, they add in this extra twist at the very end of the episode, so you don't know who won until the following episode, which I feel they're going to keep going, and I like that because it's very different from the other seasons where each episode is self-contained. There's set out rules. They add in the one twist element. You find out who wins. You find out who's eliminated. I like that they're taking kind of the Voice-esque element and adding in that you don't know who's going to win until the following episode, and that gives you more incentive to watch.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, because at the end of this episode, they all showed up at this facility, and Mackenzie's there in a new outfit, surrounded by...
It's her 4th change! I counted it! It's her 4th change!
By primates.
By primates, yeah.
And then pick your primate. They're actually on a different planet, and you have to make a third makeup in the amount of time that you thought that you had to make 2.
So they technically have, the second day they have to make the third one while fixing the other. I mean, it makes sense because that's why there's 5 people, but I feel like it's just
still
gonna...
intense.
Yeah.
It was really sucking for Anthony and all of his, like, especially when he had that feedback from Mr. Westmore. I mean, now they have to fix that other situation they had going on, that whole face, and then now they have to have the monkeys. They were like... God.
I don't even know how this next episode's even going to play out because it's going to be strange because you have to have the right monkey to fit with. I mean, what are you going to do with the aquatic one? How does that work now? I just thought about that. I was just like, I don't know how that's going to play out.
Well, I say let's get into some predictions.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
I love predictions. All this monkeying around.
Oh, you took it.
I took it.
You took it. I was waiting for it.
Why you didn't do it.
I'm glad you did, though.
Okay.
That made me really happy.
TV predictions.
Hey, this sound effect.
Very appropriate. Alien sound music.
So what are you guys thinking for next week? Who do you think is going to take it?
Well, I'm pretty worried about Team Race since they have not gotten a lot accomplished and they have to add a completely new third makeup. That makes me a little nervous. Also, because Team Laura's prediction, their concept was so specific of these aquatic aliens that accidentally landed on a desert planet. Primates don't necessarily really fit into the desert planet thing. So far I'm thinking that Team Anthony is looking the strongest. They certainly seem to have the most work done. So
I'm gonna hope for Team Race to just get it together. You never know, because every time on the show you think, oh, they're gonna be terrible, and then they pull through pretty well. So I mean, I'm hoping that they do really well, but I really think that Team Laura's aquatic aliens are going to get noticed by Rick really, really easily because it was very simple. It's going to be very elegant. But I think Team Anthony's going to take it.
Yeah, I think Team Laura's going to take it.
Oh,
so
really?
Split. Aaron, you're the deciding.
Team Laura.
Just say it because you're sitting next to me.
Yeah, I do. And
And you know
she's
that
like,
I'll punch you if you disagree.
she's like pinching me. I don't know with what, but no, it's just so hard for me to just even make a prediction because it's just like they're just like midway through the phase.
Yeah.
This is like something that like literally 30 minutes into like a normal face-off show that we already figure out, what's going
that's
on.
absolutely true.
So it's like we kind of cut that first face-off show in half and we're like, all right, I don't know what's going on. I just know that there's going to be a lot of distressed monkeys on the next
Yes.
That's all I could see on all the
Who are
monkeys.
your people to watch? Who do you think is really going to be
Emily.
in it to win it?
Emily, the 18-year-old.
I'm going to go with Kelly or Darla on that one. Did I
Yeah.
say that right? Yeah, Darla, yeah. I think those two are I'm keeping an eye on them.
I'm really excited about Rob just because I really like the makeup he created for the foundation challenge, and also I like what he's about. He's supporting his daughter with Down syndrome, and I don't know, he just seems like a great person. And I also think that Jamie is going to secretly surprise us since she was picked last.
her.
Yeah. I always go for the underdogs.
Yeah.
Like, you were picked last, you beat them. You be the best, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited about this entire season. I can't wait for next week. I
Me
want to
too.
see who wins
I know.
really bad. Let us know at home who you think is going to win. And where can we find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at atorres890. That's ATORRES 890.
You can find me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe. That's at EMMAFYFFE. That is 60% Fs right there. All Fs as in Fred. F and S tend to sound the same when they're recorded or on the
Fellow
phone.
Face-Off fans.
Yes, fellow Face-Off fans.
I like it.
And I'm basically Emma Fyffe anywhere Emma Fyffes are found.
And you can find me, Aaron, and all the distressed monkeys at Instagram _AAMO Music or Twitter and Facebook AAMO Music.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter. I'm Alana Jordan, ALANA JORDAN, and I'm on Instagram as That Alana Jordan Girl. Thank you guys so much for watching. You are the best. You guys are the best.
No,
You're the best.
Well, no,
We'll
I'm
see
the
you
best.
back here next week. Aaron's the best. He called it. We'll see you guys back here next week. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.